Coming to you live from the NowMedia newsroom.
There you go. And the big thing is we're going to talk about crime. And it's kind of like all over Canada, but the city of Kelowna is once again calling for higher levels of government to act immediately to improve public safety. This is, this bail reform. And let's not forget, Sean Fraser wants to work on this online harms thing before he works on crime for some strange reason where, many mayors, many provinces are asking for bail reform, right? It's just like a revolving door. We've talked about this many times here. At least a few people causing most of the crime in cities here. It's true in Kelowna, true in Vancouver, and true across the country. And, they commit these atrocious crimes, and they usually sometimes even beat the police before the police can finish their report. They're out on the street. I remember I'm talking to a couple officers here in Kelowna, and they arrested the same guy 3 times. And they, to the point where they're just like, it's just a waste of time, Jim. That's what they told me. It's just a waste of time. Because, I have to do the paperwork. He beats me out the door. Like I'm still doing the paperwork. He's back on the street, and I go and arrest him like 3 times in one day. Arrest the same guy. And,
that's an interesting way to look at it, isn't it? Like, what a profound insult that is to these police officers. It's even beyond an insult.
To the victim, too. Think about the victim, right?
Well, on the victim, yeah. But you're expecting the cops to go out there, and it's not quite the case in Canada the same way it is in the US, but, theoretically, it could go very wrong, and they could be hurt, or, God forbid, even killed trying to arrest somebody.
We saw that in Kelowna,
you're expecting them to do this, and then they know when they do it. They'll know right away. Probably when they get the call, they'll know, oh, he's going to be out. He'll be out on bail by the time I've, finished the paperwork. It's just such a horrible thing to do to somebody, to undermine. And it's not just their professional life. It's almost like who they are as people. And like they put their life on the line.
There's this famous case.
This is what they get. This is a slap in the face that they get.
There's this famous case in Kelowna, right? The young lady that lost her life, shortly after he was released.
Allegedly, it's still going through
that's what
courts,
I'm saying.
I think, isn't it?
I have Macklin McCall. I think it's today. It was supposed to be yesterday, but we obviously didn't have anybody in here to do the live stream yesterday. I was here, but nobody else was here. But Macklin McCall, MLA here for the BC Conservatives, put out a tangible common sense plan to address serious and rising crime in BC, while others offer lip service and empty promises. Only Conservatives are putting forward a plan. I mean, this seems reasonable. Freeze assets, prosecute under anti-terror laws, deploy RCMP gang units, mandatory sentences, deport non-citizen offenders. I don't understand how these would be up for debate. This should be just like, okay, that sounds like fun. If somebody comes into this country, they're not a citizen, and they break the law, they should lose their right to be here.
Well, certainly if they're doing business with what's now classed as a terrorist organization, Bishnoi gang, yeah, they can be. But even if they're not, really, a lot of this should apply, shouldn't it? Certainly deportation. You wouldn't expect. I always like to bring it down just to the personal level, to as small a sort of level as possible, a more intimate level. Like if you went into somebody's house as a guest and disgraced yourself, and you were violent or something, or you tried to steal things, you wouldn't expect to be kept in that house, would you? You'd be kicked out. To think that deportation is a relatively rare occurrence in Canada is strange, isn't it?
John Fraser would say, well, we probably just, you weren't given enough while you were there, so maybe you should...
you weren't given enough appetizers.
Maybe you should be given more whiskey and see what happens. Here's the result of crime, too, that is not protecting businesses, and these are when the big story starts pulling out. It's happened in the U.S., too. Walmart shutting down in Prince Rupert. Because it's too dangerous to operate. They're saying, this is from Prince Rupert Walmart there, we'd like to provide the Prince Rupert community with an update, basically saying, while the store was initially closed out of concern for safety of our associates and customers, the prolonged closure led to a larger review of the store location, operations, and our long-term plans. There you go.
And I'm sure that's a pretty big deal, isn't it, for a place like Prince Rupert to lose that?
Massive for costs, right? Massive for costs. I mean, people go to Walmart because it's cheap. You're sure not going to Walmart for the ambiance, right? You're going there because it's cheap.
Well, it's also competition, Yeah. Talk about economic theory. That will drive down costs for everyone. And so to lose a big player in the market, you've got to assume that prices are going to increase now. at the other stores.
And we're not going to play this clip here, but 4 reasons that this is from Polyev, right? 4 reasons: industrial carbon tax, clean fuel reg, food packaging, inflation tax, and all these things. It's over and over and over again. I think everybody's heard that, right? But Olivia Chow, the Toronto mayor, because she knows who to tap for more money. She says that the government's not paying, the feds aren't paying for the asylum seekers. So she's just going to raise your taxes. Hey, just squeeze people till there's nothing left. Just squeeze them, right? Just squeeze them. And meanwhile, Olivia Chow, let's see what Olivia Chow, how did she become mayor? Check it out. Here's Olivia Chow here. While Toronto burns, Rome burns, this is Olivia Chow.
Different vegetable, so I have the salsa, the guacamole, and the different vegetable, different salads, and then different cheese, and then you have the chicken, and then you have the shrimp, and then you have the beef, you have soft taco, and then corn taco, and this kind of taco, yeah, so I love having taco.
That's good. I think she might have been having some refreshments with those tacos, but she's always dancing. She's always living in her own world.
She's got such a funny demeanor as well, hasn't she? She's very conducive to memes. I always see her in various memes. But yeah, Toronto, things are going great in Toronto apparently, aren't they? If she's that happy.
Things are amazing. And here, we talk about housing being one of the biggest crises in Canada. And here's the thing, and this is Quadra CEO Sean Bouchard warns of BC's incoming energy efficiency and carbon reduction rules, right? In the Step Code 4 will add and I've talked to other builders here in the Okanagan too. Step Code 4 will add $25,000 to the cost of a new home, and it'll take about 114 years to pay back that energy. So we're just going to play a small clip of what he says. People are actually starting to find their, because they're all scared about being, carrying the woke banner, climate change. You dare not speak out against climate change and all this stuff. But here's listen in we'll just play a couple seconds of this.
We have a serious challenge.
Yeah, turn that way up.
A very serious challenge of producing housing right now. More serious than anything in my entire career. And it's a long one. I've built over 6,000 homes, 38 different projects, $1.2 billion. It's never been worse than it is today. So I'm not even going to talk from my notes because I want to talk about the seriousness that we have and how important it is for the government to take the action needed to help address this serious problem. We have lots of experts here, lots of experts in the industry. I'm a for-market developer, but I've also done affordable housing projects, and I've also done deeply affordable projects.
That's good. We'll stop here. I have Renee Merrifield, also a builder developer, on later, and she's also a former MLA. She's going to be on later today with me. I think it's at noon or 12:30. Is it 12:30? I think today that she's going to. 12:30. She'll be on with me. We'll talk about this more in depth because she's raised this concern quite a few times. The solution by the NDP and the Liberals is for the regulational hurdles in that is what? More regulation. More regulation and more regulation will fix it. You know what I mean? We've seen this over and over and over. 25%. We'll ask Renee later. I think it's 25% of the cost of a house is just regulations and inspections and all these things. And then they talk about how we got to get more homes built, but all they do is get in the way.
But can you imagine, in a crisis as enormous as this one, the housing crisis, can you imagine thinking one of the priorities would be carbon reduction, putting that on? I mean, that just tells you the priorities, though, doesn't it? Anybody that's curious, anybody that's trying to kind of surmise what the motives are, or the hierarchy of priorities is for the Liberal government. There you go. Today? The housing crisis couldn't be any worse. I mean, I say that it probably is going to get worse. But despite that, they're still tacking on the carbon malarkey, aren't they? Because that's their true passion.
What's our theme today? Self-harm. There you go. For the benefit of the few at the expense of the many. Here's
although this is less self-harm, this is more like sadism, isn't it? Because everybody that's everybody that's writing these policies that impoverish the masses, they're all on $500,000 a year,
Well,
as we've learned.
We did that story last week, right? The head of CMHC, the lady there, I can't remember her name off the top of my head though, $551,000 annual salary, 33% bonus, and they took $30 million and they spread it over the executive team, $33 million in bonuses. And then they washed their hands of their old mandate and said that they would have all youth or all people that wanted a home by 2030 would have one. Now she said that's not our job. Right? Our job is actually how to get a raise, I guess. That's the function of the CMHC. How to get more money.
How to get a second cottage in another province. Already got one cottage. Need to get the next one now.
We have reached out to get some reaction from the Canadian film and TV industry here, because we do a lot of Hallmark videos here, especially here in Kelowna. When Trump put out that saying he's going to put 100% tariffs on movies and films that come into the U.S. And, because, Hollywood North, they were calling it here for quite a while. And there you go. Well, we're waiting to see.
Well, so many films and TV shows where you can just tell that it's British Columbia. Yeah. Like I was watching one not so long ago, the Shogun TV series, which is very good. Obviously supposed to be set in Japan, but they filmed it in BC. And it's just kind of, there's so many movies, no point even going through them all. Rambo as well was filmed in BC.
Rambo's an old one, that's right, shot in Hope, BC. There you go. Yeah. You put this one in, so I'll let you lead into this. I'm not sure what this is. Renew Britain.
This is more for you actually, but we should just listen to the. We should listen to the.
Do we have it?
The speech. This is Ed Miliband, he's almost like the number 2, number 3 most powerful person in the Labour government in the UK. He's the energy minister, and he is exceedingly dedicated to net zero. Yeah. He's passionately pro net zero.
We don't have the slide here, but we will play the video here. Let's play the clip here.
Was just the snake oil. The threat from reform goes way beyond their climate denying agenda. You see, the truth is, I wish Nigel Farage was just the snake oil Tory city boy we've known about for years. He's actually morphed into something even more dangerous. He's now a key part of a global network that wants to destroy the ties that bind our communities and our way of life. And I can sum up the threat for you in 2 words. Elon Musk.
That's good. That's good enough for me. There you go.
There's a funnier bit at the end where he tries to look really scary, and he goes, "You're not gonna do it, Elon," or something like that. I just thought it was interesting to see that it's not just Canadian leaders that want to talk about Elon Musk as though he's like some kind of octopus controlling the world.
Isn't that weird? Freedom of speech. Elon Musk is a free speech absolutist for sure. And the people that say they defend democracy every day, and the threat to democracy and their threat to democracy is what? Freedom of speech. Isn't that weird? The threat to democracy is actually freedom. Your freedom is the threat to democracy.
Yep.
If you want to believe it, then go ahead.
Very interesting. But this is also, just have to remember, that guy there is part of the government that Mark Carney seems to be very, very close to. And, he's met the Prime Minister of that country 4 times, is it now? I think it's 4, maybe 5. It's just something, keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on what comes out of Britain, because there's a reasonable chance that it'll come out of Canada.
I'm going to say something that's going to be very controversial. It's probably going to set some people off, but I'll say it anyway because I believe it. Your freedom was provided to you by God. Governments have worked very hard at restricting your rights and freedoms. That's what they do. And in Canada, we don't have the protections that are afforded by the U.S., their Bill of Rights and U.S. Constitution and that. Like Canada, the United States has exported, I've done a really good interview with a lawyer here in Canada, they've exported a lot of their culture wars into the rest of the world, but we don't have the protections that's offered by their founding fathers. And, some of those people that you think they're from like time travelers or whatever, because they wrote the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. that kind of like factored into a lot of stuff going on today. But we don't have those protections. What we have here in calling Canada is a charter, and then they say they put guardrails. And if you go read that paragraph that talks about guardrails, what this government kind of does is just keeps compressing those guardrails. So there you go.
And it's not just freedom of speech; it's all kinds of things, isn't it? The Americans sort of figured this all out in the 1770s, didn't they? And later as well. And in the 18th and 19th centuries, the Americans figured all this constitutional stuff out, but it hasn't been figured out here in Canada.
Yeah.
And it's a good point, yeah, because we suffer. And I don't know if we're going to talk about that thing later on, the survey about Indigenous land ownership or whatever. But that's another thing. It's like in America, they figured all that out. They're not going to have any arguments in America about who owns what land and that kind of thing. It's a weakness of Canada's that we didn't figure that out, and we're kind of doing it now, like on the hoof, aren't we?
Well, again, if you distract enough people all the time, they won't look at you raiding the till, and they won't even notice you stealing like en masse out of the till. So the U.S. government is shut down, and apparently, according to many people, that the world was going to melt. But the U.S. government has shut down many times in the past, and it hasn't ended up in melting the world. Actually, this probably plays right into Trump's hands, because there's supposedly all these people that are going to quit, and probably just like a massive win for the Doge people. Again, the markets are just flat today. So mostly green. The Dow's off a bit, but the NASDAQ's up. Not the what they said it was going to be. And then Elon Musk, the devil, according to the Brits, his stock is up massively and up massively in the last little while. I mean, if you listen to that nonsense and don't realize that Elon Musk is probably the most important person right now as far as technology goes, because technology is changing this world, and he is leading in all of the leading industries. I mean, literally, we should be so thankful that there's this one man who could easily just ignore us, the rest of us that fight for our freedom every day, including us here in an independent news outlet that fight for our freedom every day, freedom of speech, freedom of thought, that there is a guy out there that has immense resources and power that fights for our same right to speak freely, while other people want to take away our right to speak in the interest of protecting us from ourselves, which is, strange, isn't it? Like Trump announced that deal. He said that Israel has agreed to it, but he said that Saudi Arabia has agreed to it, Jordan, Turkey, Indonesia, Egypt. Even Mark Carney came out and supported the deal. The only people not agreeing to the deal is Hamas. And Trump did issue an ultimatum and say, like, if Hamas didn't agree right away, then he has the blessing in the United States to go in there and just, I don't know what worse you could do, but apparently there's a worse. I don't know what that worse could be.
I mean, this is the right sort of PR approach, at least from Israel, I would say, and the Americans, to say, like, look, here's a deal. Let's go. If you don't agree to it, we're gonna be angry, kind of thing. But I feel like they missed so many opportunities to look like the pro-peace side. So they've taken some huge damage, Israel and the US, taken massive reputational damage from this war. So I think if you're pro-American, pro-Israeli, the sooner this war's over, the better.
We talk about censorship, we talk about freedom of speech, freedom of thought, freedom that has been granted to you. Because nobody's more important than anybody on the planet. But somehow the people that have grifted their way into power have decided that your freedoms don't matter. Your ability to feed your family doesn't matter. Remember what Trudeau said? What did he say? I know it's tough. You may not be able to pay your rent. You may not be able to buy groceries. But we're fighting a much bigger battle, people. We're fighting climate change. So you need to sacrifice yourself. Meanwhile, is he not just grifting all around the world right now? Grifting, flying around, just, partying like it's 1995?
It's just so painful. It's so painful to be reminded of what he would say about climate change. He was so ill-informed. He had absolutely no idea what
Mark Miller
even
said you
the
couldn't even drive
International
across
Planet and
Canada.
Climate Change.
Yeah.
Even the IPCC, the world's foremost experts, they must have been shaking their head when he would speak. He was talking about the world coming to an end, like, as if it was that important. Even the worst case scenario from the IPCC is not that bad. It's not like the end of the world. I just wish more people knew about this, but I suppose in that kind of bubble of ignorance, that's how people like Trudeau can prosper, and even Elizabeth May, you might say.
YouTube, another one settling with Donald Trump on censorship. We talk about freedom of speech. So YouTube coughing up $24 million for his 2021 suspension of his channel. So now, so far, what do we got here? We got Facebook paid $25 million, Twitter paid 10, ABC News 15, and because remember that he was a sitting president when they shut him off. Remember that when the deciders of freedom, the defenders of democracy, decided the sitting president of the United States did not have the right to freedom of expression. Isn't that wild?
I could not believe that. And I still, this has happened, okay, and this is kind of might be looked at as nipping it in the bud. This is an end. But I don't feel like we've even begun to comprehend what happened there. That was absolutely insane, wasn't it? When he was banned from all media outlets, but the most important media outlets, social media outlets, while still president. It was absolutely insane that happened.
And in Canada right now, there's a few bills trying to be passed. I'm going to interview John Carpe here. I think it's next week. He's from the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms. Canada's at a real big crossroads right here, where they're going to try and they don't like X. They do not like X. Neither does, obviously, who doesn't like X? The UK don't like X, do they? I mean, if they could shut it down, they would. I think the only thing scaring them, Keir Starmer, is Vance's speech there. Remember, if you censor Americans, you'll pay the price for it.
Yeah, that's given them pause, hasn't it? For
J.D.
sure.
Vance has said
and also the fact that in Britain you have Reform, Nigel Farage's party is ahead in the polls. I think that scares them, and they don't want to make that worse for themselves.
Elon Musk, again, being a very boisterous young man. He's after Netflix here, because there was this show on Netflix that has it's targeting 7-year-olds apparently, with transgender stuff. And so Elon Musk has started this movement to cancel Netflix. And then you can see in this next slide here, a lot of people, definitely Elon fans have been canceling their Netflix. And it's reflected in the stock price of Netflix as well. If we look at Netflix right now, it's off. We've got a chart here. Netflix is off $27 this morning, but just over 2% down right now. Netflix down on this pressure here from these cancellations. I
mean, I can think of a number of reasons to cancel Netflix, not just whatever it is that Musk has gone on about there. I'd say the fact that at least 80% of what is on there is just pure garbage, like the worst of the worst. Worse than AI, worse than typing in a scenario into AI and watching the video, like much worse than that. And yet people pay money for that.
I was mentioning to my daughter that, there's this movement out there to cancel Netflix, and my granddaughter heard it. She's like, "No, Papa, that's where I watch Gabby's Dollhouse."
Yeah, they've got a few kids things on there. I think they've got Paw Patrol on there as well, which is a very popular kids show. There you go.
Here's Ursula taking center stage, and I think this is our last story of the day. Ursula von der Leyen. I don't know if I said that right or not, but
von der Leyen.
Von der Leyen. There you go. Ursula's. Let's listen on Ursula here.
We live in troubled times. The Russian war against Ukraine is still ongoing. We see that Russia is testing our resolve. So these are times where it is absolutely paramount that we have a common sense of urgency and unity to address these challenges. And therefore this informal European Council in Copenhagen comes just at the right time. We're going to discuss two topics. One is defense and the other one is Ukraine. On defense, my commission has prepared a scoping paper to discuss the direction of action, but also, for example, flagships like the drone wall. And if it comes to Ukraine,
I think there's about $4 billion they're going to chuck at the Ukrainians there, and drones, and at some point that's got to come to an end. This war, Trump. You bragged about getting that thing done. Let's get it done. Hey?
Well, now he's completely changed his tune, hasn't he? So I don't know what to make of that. I mean, it seems like that's a bad sign. He's completely turned on Russia. That suggests that he doesn't see a deal on the table. So it looks like more of the same, doesn't it?
I've interviewed a young man here. I think he was 17 years old. I've done a few interviews with the Friends of Ukraine, and this young man, he seems to be having a tough time getting his temporary or his permanent residency here. So he's scheduled to be shipped back as he turns 18, so he can be, part of the meat grinder. It's odd that they wouldn't prioritize this young man. His life is actually in danger. And they said one of the reasons that they wasn't getting it was because he didn't speak good enough English. Go watch the interview with him. He spoke pretty good English. I don't speak Russian or Ukrainian, so we had a conversation that went very well. So not sure why he didn't speak good enough English.
Yeah, well, God knows what's going on with that one, but that is quite a sad story, isn't it? And then there's a number of stories like that in Ukraine. Lots of people that don't want to fight for various reasons and being forced to.
How many youth have given their lives already? How many?
Well,
how many are enough?
I think they're conscripting people, is it over 40, over 50 even? I've seen some very old-looking dudes on the front lines.
Yeah, they've raised the age, they lowered the age, and it has pushed more people into the meat grinder. Really?
Well, they're completely, from their perspective, they're completely desperate, aren't they? They've run out of manpower.
They should do is everybody.
A similar story is on the cards in Russia as well, but they have a lot of sort of mercenaries that they can put in there.
They're paying them. They're saying, hey, if you want to go, and at least your family will get a bunch of money or something. So they are paying them. He shared some interesting things there, because his dad fights in the front lines. You can watch the interview. You can find it on our NowMedia thing. He shared some interesting. He actually showed me the map too that shows you all the drone incursions for the day. And he said it used to be like 100 a day you would get, but now it's like flies. It was like 500 drones. He showed me on this heat map that they have. I don't know how they're getting this stuff, but Starlink again. Elon Musk, the devil, was provided Starlink to Ukraine to help them, but apparently he is. What did the guy do? Didn't he do his finger? There's only 2 words I want to say. I got a word for you. He
increases the intensity in his final little peroration.
Yeah. The threat to democracy is the people screaming about threats to democracy. Those are the people. They're trying to silence people. They need to open the dictionary and see what democracy, the definition of democracy is, because it's surely different from what they're trying to sell as democracy.
It is quite a hard word to define, but ultimately it means rule of the people. And that doesn't seem to be a description of the political system of Mark Carney might be one, Keir Starmer certainly. Yeah. Just in its most basic definition, which is rule of the people, government by the people.
Of the people, for the people. That's,
not really seeing that.
The Americans, again, their Bill of Rights and Constitution, a lot of people think they have those. They don't. Go watch the interview I did with that lawyer, Canadian lawyer, on our Charter of Rights compared to theirs. Big difference, right? And what we have here is a government that uses this vague paragraph in our Charter of Rights, this vague paragraph, and continues to compress our freedoms. And then you'll have them saying, like Sean Fraser will come out and say, how we need to protect people from people by taking away more rights. Isn't that how it works?
Well, that's because in the Charter and in a lot of the laws here on the books in Canada, their rights like freedom of speech are qualified. A qualified right or a conditional right can always be taken away if there's something more serious.
That's the paragraph. You need to read that paragraph. and then understand it and how they interpret it to continue to compress your freedoms.
Don't accept conditional rights. I think that's the lesson from the United States, because the First Amendment is not conditional at all. It's just like, these are your rights. There you go. And there's no conditions.
Yeah. That's our show for today. Again, if you can help us out by sharing, commenting, liking, send it to some friends that say that, if some people saying this is a great show. If you could share it with some friends, 5 friends, ask them to share it, because Bill C-18 is crushing free, local, independent media in Canada. Close to 100 have failed already since 2 years of this Bill C-18 that the government put into place here, which doesn't allow us to put our content on Facebook or Instagram. It took away our audience of 200,000, and in the same time, the government selectively decides who they want to feed at the trough. They're feeding companies like, Cult Media. You remember that? They gave that. And then another one we talked about the other day, they got 900,000. The Anti-Hate Network was getting $1 million a year, and all they did was promote hate. And then CBC, obviously, just like living large at the trough. $1.55 billion a year. $1.55 billion a year. Imagine.
But also, we talk a lot about climate. They love to fund media outlets that spread the most wacky fringe sort of climate extremism, climate alarmism that is not based on any evidence whatsoever that we possess.
Well, that's our show for today. Thank you. I've got another one here in about 4 minutes, so I got to jump. With that said, thank you for watching NowMedia.
We don't just report the news. We live here too. We're your neighbors, bringing you stories that matter to all of us. No government funding, no outside influence. Kelowna Now, local, independent. News you can trust.